The second season is already 3/4 of the way to its completion. Admittedly, little in terms of major plot events has happened over the last 2 episodes, but the 6th episode of the second season, Smallfolk, does actually set up some important moments yet to come, which will hopefully present themselves before the end of the season proper. Let us get into it. We begin this episode with Jason Lannister uniting his forces. He has brought an actual lion with him, which may not end well if that cage breaks. I believe they call this Chekhov's furball. Also, now I cannot help but think about the other non-Targaryen great houses and how they could weaponize their Heldrick animals. The Starks could definitely bring direwolves into battle. In theory, giant falcons do not actually exist, at least not anymore, which is a definite shame for House Aaron. And I doubt the stags and fishes would be of much use to the Baratheons and Tullys. Though I could certainly see Euron, or even the Red Kraken Dalton Greyjoy, riding a kraken into a sea battle. But I am definitely going on a tangent, am I not? Let us try to get back on track. Jason Lannister is unwilling to march on Harrenhal, and therefore Daemon and Caraxes, without a dragon to back them up. Hardly an unreasonable desire. However, Aemond is not impressed by Jason's requirements, and refuses to go, at least for now. He ends up sending Christian Cole into the Riverlands instead, and contacts the Triarchy to attempt to enlist them into the war effort to break the blockade. He also basically fires Alicent from her small council seat, and in the most demeaning way tells Larys to send for Otto to become his hand. We have seen from Aemon's Rook's Rest Gambit that he is a good warrior, dragon rider, and military tactician. But what Aemond is not is a politician. The Triarchy might hate Corlys Velaryon and Daemon, but they might not be willing to be too buddy-buddy with the Greens either. The great tragedy of the Dance of the Dragons is not even that this is a civil war, but a civil war fought between a family. Rhaenyra and Aegon and Aemond are siblings in the end. Also, pissing off Larys in the least tactful way possible is a very bad idea. Aemond does see through Larys' flattery, but he fails to see Larys' dangerous side. There would have been a way to not give Larys the position of Hand of the King without making him into an enemy, but Aemond hates feeling weak, and he does turn Larys into an enemy. This may come back to haunt all One Eye. Meanwhile on Dragonstone, Corlys arrives to take up his position as Rhaenyra's hand, though not before promoting Alan, who continues to shave his flowing hair. At the Black Small Council meeting, Rhaenyra asks Steffon Darkland to attempt to claim a dragon, and look how hopeful she is. Really, is this not the face we, A Song of Ice and Fire theorists, make whilst we are in the middle of a video essay explaining why all Walders are the same time-traveling Walder, which characters are secretly horses, and why Cold Hands is totally Daemon Targaryen? At any rate, Rhaenyra has a plan to get more dragon riders. I sure hope nothing goes wrong. Ooh. Rip. Well, that sucked. In the Vale, more terrible stuff is happening as well, at least in my opinion, as Rhaenyra finds proof that a rogue dragon is in the area. This does go against the book lore, but not the lore of the show, as early in the first season it was mentioned that Vhagar was not in Westeros. Still, this is basically proof that the storyline I feared was being cut is being cut. It is not official as of yet, so I will wait to discuss this storyline in question at a later date. While all of this is happening, Daemon continues along his trip down Old Memory Lane, this time indeed accompanied by Paddy Considine. To be perfectly honest, I was a little underwhelmed by this first scene of Daemon and Viserys, seeing as it is basically a repeat of the end of the very first episode of House of the Dragon. I did like Daemon's little line, Surely you can't still be mad about this. On the surface level, it shows how he is getting used to all of these visions. But on a deeper level, the true 4D chess level intellect reason for this line is to show that this attitude is actually a facade. When Viserys breaks down, Daemon breaks down, and he runs and demands and begs to be let out. The greatest scene, which is the one I really liked, is when Daemon actually gets to hold and comfort Viserys, if only for a moment and only if for hallucination. We really see the toll these visions have exacted on him when he talks to Alice. This is the man who would rather risk death than ask his brother for help, if we recall the 3rd episode of the 1st season. And here he is asking Alice Rivers for help. Is she helping him? Is she using him? Is she a ghost? Is she a goat? Is she 3 barn arrows in a trench coat? Only time will tell. Meanwhile, one of Miss Arya's plots begins to bear fruit. The Blacks send shipments of food across the bay to King's Landing, which causes uproar and rioting as the Smallfolk start to become loyal to Rhaenyra. Alicent and Helena are in the city, not the Sept of Baelor, as Baelor has not actually, happened yet. At any rate, they are forced to evacuate to the carriage. The King's Guard gets absolutely hammered by the mob. I have to admit, I personally am more than a little torn on whether or not this should be considered a homage or a shameless ripoff of the mob scene in the 2nd season of Game of Thrones and in the 2nd book of A Song of Ice and Fire. Either way, it demonstrates how unsafe things are for the Greens in the capital. Now, I believe this is the blood of the man who grabbed Alicent, not her own blood, but it is still definitely a parallel to when Alicent slashed Rhaenyra. This is just a theory, but I wonder if part of the reason why Seasmoke rejected Steffan Darklyn was because he had already been partially bonding with Adam. After all, he had been seen near Adam previously. To be sure, we will likely never know, but it is fun to think about. It would also explain why afterwards Seasmoke went after Adam to complete the bond. This news reaches Rhaenyra just as she attempts to eat Miss Arya's face. Apparently this was not scripted, and I believe it because it is quite weird when, in-universe, Rhaenyra clearly just wanted a hug. Sometimes, like with Matt Smith picking up the fallen crown and returning it to Paddy Considine, improvised scenes between actors can be great, other times they can be cut. This should have been one of the latter. Now let us talk about predictions for next week and the penultimate episode of the 2nd season of House of the Dragon. With Grover Tully dead and Elmore Tully apparently not in the show, much to my extreme displeasure, leadership of the Riverlands falls to Oscar Tully. It now falls to the young Tully to decide whether or not to throw in his lot with Daemon. Speaking of the rogue prince himself, with his scenes with Viserys done, probably, I imagine Daemon's 4-episode Harrenhal arc is about to come to a close. Criston Cole is marching on the Riverlands, though that will take some time. It remains to be seen what the Lannister force will do and when. Rhaena is most likely going to try to find the dragon, who appears to be a stealer of sheep. Yes, I am annoyed that they are cutting nettles. Rhaenyra's food shipments may be the final straw for the Smallfolk in King's Landing, at least some of them. Faced with Aemond and Aegon on one hand and Rhaenyra on the other, I would not be surprised if they choose to try to flee for the Black Queen. I will be back soon to recap the 7th episode of the 2nd season. Mr. Mac out.